Good evening, good evening, good evening to you, Papa's darlings. I have a word that I want to share with you that I'm very excited about, which is why I have a little woohoo in the caption for this Mind Renovation live audio this evening. I have been, I have done some phone ministry today. And in the course of my the counseling that I did on the phone today, this truth is something that the Spirit of God brought to my mind, brought up in the conversation to share with the person that I was ministering to, and it just as in the first time that he began to really speak this to me, when he brought it to my mind again to share with this person that I was ministering to, it just excited me all over again. And so I just want to pass it on to you. I have done teaching on this in the past, so if you have been listening to the Mind Renovation teachings, this is not going to be brand new for you, but my prayer is that when you hear it again, that it'll excite you again, just like it did me. It's such a powerful truth. So the basis, just as a little refresher, the basis for Renovate with Neo teaching is based on Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where the Apostle Paul is admonishing every believer who is interested in experiencing transformation in your life, that you recognize you've come to Christ, you've come to a saving knowledge of Jesus, and you've been born again, and you recognize that there are areas of your life that are in need of transformation, that you need change. You need change in your circumstances. You need change in your physical body, maybe healing. You need change in your thinking. You need change in your emotions. You need freedom. You're not walking in the level of freedom that you know you should be walking in, and so on and so forth. So for those who have come to a saving knowledge of Jesus, you've been born again, you've been joined unto the Lord in faith, and you recognize, I need transformation. Romans chapter 12, verse 2 gives you the key to that. He says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, for those who are looking for transformation, the Apostle Paul says right there, very plain, it's very clear, it's very simple, it's not complicated. Be transformed. Do you want transformation? Great! That's a good thing. How are you going to experience it? Let me tell you. Renovate your mind. Renew your mind. And so that's the basis for these mind renovation audio teachings, as I share truth with you that is intended to help you pinpoint untruths that maybe you have believed, or maybe there is an entire lack of understanding that sometimes you need to hear a truth because you have believed a lie, and so the light of truth exposes that lie, and when you recognize that you have believed a lie, then you have the opportunity to reject the lie. And when you reject the lie, you embrace the truth, then transformation comes. In some instances, it's not that you have believed a lie, it's that you have simply no understanding, that nobody has taught you. So you have a lack of knowledge. In both instances, these mind renovation teachings are going to help you. They're going to help you towards your goal. If your goal is transformation, if you're interested in growing up into the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ in the externals of your life, if that's your goal, and that should be the goal of every person who has come to a saving knowledge of Jesus, that if you've been born again and joined unto the Lord, then there should be that something in you that says, I want to change, I want to grow, I want to be more Christ-like in my actions, in my thinking, in my speaking, in my heart motives. I want the circumstances of my life to reflect His goodness and His faithfulness. I want to walk in the promises of God. I want to see the promises of God fulfilled in my life and not just always feel like they're just out of my reach. Anybody who's been born again, that should be what's in your heart. And so that's the purpose of these teachings, that as you listen to truth about that focuses primarily on telling you who you are now that you've been joined unto the Lord, what you have, and how to use it. As you listen to these teachings, it's going to help you. So this particular truth that I want to share with you this evening, I have a couple of verses in the letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to the church at Colossae. The city is Colossae. The people who lived in that city were Colossians. Which is really funny. It's kind of funny to say it that way, to think of it that way, but that's that. So the book in your Bible, in the New Testament of your Bible, the book that's called Colossians is a letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to the church that met together, that was located in the city of Colossae. And so the people who made up that church were Colossians. So that's where that's where the name comes from. So in this letter, he in the first chapter, he talks to them about this mystery of God, that there is a mystery that's been hidden for ages and generations that has been now revealed to us. And he then explains what that mystery is. That mystery is, and let me just read it to you. If you want to read along, it's Colossians chapter 1. Let me see where I want to start. I'll start reading in verse 26. It says, "Even the mystery which hath been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints." Verse 27, "To whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is," drum roll please, here is the mystery that has been revealed, "Christ in you, the hope of glory." Christ in you, the hope of glory. Previous ages and generations, they didn't have Christ on the inside of them. They didn't have the indwelling Christ. And they had no hope of glory. Now, let me explain to you what hope of glory means when you study it in the Greek. Hope there means, the word for hope there means a confident expectation. It's not wishful thinking. It's not the kind of hope that you might feel, that a child might feel on Christmas Eve night, when they go to bed and they've given their wish list to their parents, or in some cases made their wishes known, their Christmas wishes known to Santa Claus, and they go to bed and they're so anxious and excited they can hardly go to sleep because, man, I hope that when I get up in the morning and I open up those presents, that thing that I asked for is under the tree. There's not, there's a 50-50 chance there's maybe it's there, maybe it's not there. There's no reason for them to have a confident expectation. It's wishful thinking. That's what natural hope is. It's wishful thinking. I hope. Hope here in verse 27, which is the mystery revealed, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Christ being in us is our hope of glory. That word hope, which is Bible hope, is a confident expectation. Hope of glory. This word glory is, in the Greek, it speaks of a good opinion. It it refers to a positive or a good opinion, a judgment that is a positive one. So, if you plug those definitions in, the mystery that was hidden for ages and for generations that the Apostle Paul is bringing these Christians here that he's written this letter to, he's bringing them into remembrance that this mystery has been made manifest to us. You're saints, and this is the mystery that has been made manifest to us. Christ in you, the indwelling Christ, is the reason why you can have a confident expectation that God's opinion of you is a good one. And in the previous verses, he points out that this positive opinion, this good opinion of you from God is going to hold true even in the moment when you stand before Him at the end of your life and you stand before God, that Jesus is going to present you to the Father, and His report of your life to the Father, after examining you, His report is going to be that He can find no fault in you. He's going to present you as holy and unblameable and unreprovable in His sight. So this hope of glory, this confident expectation, not a wishful thinking, not, I hope that I'm good enough. I hope that I can cross enough T's and dot enough I's and jump through enough hoops and help enough people, and hope I can just, if I could just come to the end of my life and stand before God and it turn out that my good deeds outweigh my bad deeds, then maybe, just maybe, His opinion of me will be a good one. That's not what the hope of glory is. What the mystery is that has been made manifest in us as saints is that we have the indwelling Christ. And because Christ lives on the inside of us, because He lives inside of us, because we have become His place of habitation, we are His physical address upon the earth. Because of that, because we have union with Him, and He is therefore now our identity, then we can have a confident expectation, not wishful thinking, but a confident expectation that God's opinion of us is now and ever will be a good one. That we will be presented by Jesus before the Father as having been found holy and unblameable and unreprovable in His sight. That's the end of your story. That's the end of your story, darlings of God. So I needed to lay that little bit of groundwork. Now, if you go down a few verses to chapter 2, in verse 3, we come to what I really wanted to share with you. He says, well, let's read in verse 2. He says, that their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love, and unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding, to the acknowledgement of the mystery of God. So he references this mystery again. He's encouraging them to acknowledge this mystery, and of the Father and of Christ, in whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. So he brings them into remembrance of this mystery, encouraging them to acknowledge it in their life, that I have the indwelling Christ, and because of that, I should have, and I will have a confident expectation that God's opinion of me is a good one and will ever be a good one. Not because I'm good, but because Christ in me is good. Because I've received an imputation of His righteousness, because He and I have become one. We've become one. And then he says here in chapter 2, verse 3, that in this Christ that lives in us is hid all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Now I want you to just stop for just a second. Just pause. Just take a deep breath. Let it out. Quiet your mind for just a second. I want you to take that in. All of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hid in Christ. Wisdom and knowledge. I personally believe that the Lord has revealed to me as I've studied this in a moment of just divine revelation where he just opened my understanding. I actually mid-sentence, I spoke this out of my mouth before it ever occurred to my natural mind. It was one of those moments where the Spirit of God spoke something through me that had never occurred to me, and I was learning as I was speaking, which actually happens to me quite often. If the truth be known, that happens quite often, that I will speak things out of my mouth that I'm learning as I'm speaking. So it was one of those moments where I'm talking about all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge being hid in Christ. And this is how the Lord explained it to me, that wisdom and knowledge are a reference to the ways and the thoughts of God. Under the old covenant, where they didn't have the indwelling Christ, the ways and the thoughts of God were unattainable. They are described as being as far above our ways and far above our thoughts as the heavens are above the earth, which is an analogy intended to help you understand as a natural person that his ways and his thoughts are unattainable for you. There is this vast chasm of space that separates the ways of God from the ways of man, and the thoughts of God from the thoughts of man, that his are so much higher that you could never even hope to attain them. And that is true in the natural. For natural carnal man, that is absolutely true. Under the old covenant, that was always true for those who did not have the indwelling Christ. But for us who have the indwelling Christ, who are living on this side of the cross, that is no longer true. It's not true anymore that his ways and his thoughts are unattainable for us. And we have to just grapple along and hope for the best. And every now and then we might make a right decision and use just the right words. And we might lay hold of the thoughts of God every so often. The reality for you, darlings of God, is that because of this mystery that has been made manifest, Christ in you, and that in that Christ is hid all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge, the ways and the thoughts of God, that all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are now hid in you. The ways and the thoughts of God that are as far above the ways and the thoughts of man as the heavens are above the earth, that high, so much more lofty, so much more reliable and trustworthy and effective and powerful. The ways and the thoughts of God, his wisdom and his knowledge, are now hid on the inside of you. You possess them. All of it. All of it. All. Not some of the wisdom of God. Not some of the thoughts of God. His knowledge, but all of it. Because Christ lives inside of you. So the good news for us the good news, the almost too good to be true news for us is that there is nothing that we face in this life. There's no problem that you come up against. There's no issue that you find yourself in the middle of. There's no conflict. There's no problem. There's nothing that you will ever face that is too big for you or too complicated for you to be able to have the answer. You don't have to, we have the ability to be completely and forever liberated from the burden of trying to figure things out. Trying to figure out how we're supposed to do this and what am I supposed to say and what's the right thing to do and is this right or is that right and weighing out the cons and the pros and all of this natural means of trying to make the right choice in life. When you're standing at a crossroads and you have to decide, do I go right or do I go left? Do I stay straight? And using the natural means and walking in the counsel of the ungodly and all of the burdensome means by which unregenerate people of the world make their choices, make decisions in life. We, as children of God, have a better way. We have the mother lode. We have on the inside of us a resource that is unimaginable. We have not even begun to scratch the surface of understanding what we hold on the inside of us. You have not even begun to understand the magnitude, the weightiness, the depth, the width, the height of what you hold on the inside of you. All of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hid on the inside of you. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have to make a decision, which happens all the time for all of us, and you begin to feel inadequate and you start to feel nervous and you take stock of your history and think, well, I have a track record of making bad choices. And fear wants to set in and you start feeling like, chances are I'm not going to get this right. And I'm going to keep repeating this cycle of defeat because I can't seem to make the right choices. Stop in that moment. Stop, put the brakes on, and reject those lies and speak this truth to those lies. That it is not true that I am stuck in a cycle of defeat and making bad choices because I always make bad choices. Given the option to make a good choice and a bad choice, my tendency is to do the wrong thing. I can't ever seem to get it right. That's a lie because I have the indwelling Christ. And because of that, all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hid on the inside of me. And I choose to tap into that resource. I will not allow that wisdom of God and the thoughts of God and His ways to go untapped in my life. I choose to tap into that. And then you get still and you refuse to make a decision until you know that the wisdom of God, the ways of God, and the thoughts of God have been impressed upon your natural mind. That suddenly you just know. Suddenly an idea comes to you. Suddenly the right words come to you. Suddenly you know. There's a peace that settles over you. And you know this is the right way to go. Your ears hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. And you refuse to make a decision until that moment happens. You refuse to give in to panic and pressure that I gotta make a decision now. I gotta figure this out now. That's how fear works. God doesn't operate that way. God doesn't operate in a panic mode or a pressure mode. You have time. You have time to be still and lean into the mind of Christ. Lean into and draw from that unimaginable resource of all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge that are on the inside of you. And if you'll start doing that, you have to start sometime. Start now. Start with a new pattern. As you start doing that, it will change the pattern of your life. It will change the course of your life. The decisions you make will begin to be the right ones and not the wrong ones. The decisions you make, the words that you use, will begin to be the right ones, and it'll bear good fruit. Do you want that? You can have that. You can get out of that cycle of defeat and that cycle of always repeating the same mistakes and going around the mountain year after year after year after year after year after frustrating year. You can break out of that cycle as easily as simply acknowledging the mystery of God, which is Christ in you, your confident expectation of God's opinion of you being a good one, and understanding and acknowledging that in that Christ who's in you is hid all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge, and simply tapping into that. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as changing your thoughts, refusing to be led by your own understanding or conventional wisdom. It's good news, guys. It's good news. I pray that blesses you. It has excited me. I'm sure you can hear the excitement. Every time I think about that, it excites me, because I understand that even though I have a little tiny bit of understanding about it, that I'm just starting to understand what I have on the inside of me, that I haven't even hardly begun. That there are depths of understanding, new levels of understanding that I'm going to tap into, that I am going to break into new levels of understanding and tap into that wisdom and knowledge more than even I am doing, and that the effects of that are going to be astounding. It's going to have a ripple effect throughout my life, and it's going to ripple into beyond just the scope of my life and into the lives of others. And that is quite exhilarating. That is a thrilling thought for me. And I pray that it is for you also. All right, guys. I love you. I thank you for tuning in. And if you tuned in late, I encourage you to go back and listen from the beginning. It's going to bless you. Sleep well tonight. Blessings to your sleep. Deep, restful, restorative sleep for you. Bye-bye.